Hello again everybody, and a very warm welcome back to the channel. You join us today for, well, what has become a fairly controversial or messy, I guess, release of an aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator. We're taking it for a spin for the first time today, having not flown it before, having purposely avoided all the other streams and content out there, so I can have a look at this aircraft and create my own balanced view. MG King, welcome. Zato, hello. Mark, Badger, David, g'day folks. Joey Goofy, Fritz, Automator, good morning. And Alberta, good morning to you over in Chile. Ian, g'day in the 736, parked up as we saw at the start of the stream. Birdman, welcome. So we're using this today. It's included in the early access pack of the FSS Embraer 175. It's the Alaska Skywest livery. It's quite nice actually, to be fair, as a bit of a livery, and already from the outside the model looks quite nice. The review today, the live review I should probably say, is going to be conducted with this current state of the product in mind, not the final release, because it is early access. Whether we agree with it or not, whether we agree with the business model and the decision to release it early and have everybody effectively alpha test it for them, can be something we talk about, but it's certainly not going to. I'm not going to look forwards to a year and go, what's this aeroplane going to be like in a year? We're going to look at what it's like now and whether or not it is good enough for VATSIM and that sort of thing. So yeah, you guys are part of the stream. I'll try and get through the chat as we go, of course, and answer any questions that you guys have, and we check out and explore the aircraft as best as we can too. Yes, Fritz, E275 is the E2 variant of the 175. It's the closest I can get. It's either that or an E170, as Zato has said, as 175 is not in X-Pilot or V-Pilot. Alberto, happy birthday. Excellent. Good morning, Matthew, Mike, Red Thread, Brian. Yeah, the outside is quite nice, isn't it? We can have a little bit more of a closer look at it. I mean, for me, the one that we're most, or the one I'm looking forward to the most, is the 190. I think that's probably shared with a lot of people as well here, to be fair. The 190 is going to be the one that we're all looking for. But it's a striking aircraft. Like Zato's saying, got to say the outside looks very nice. We're going to start cold and dark, and we're going to fly to Boise today. We're on the VATSIM network, more so to see if it works well enough to fly on here, whether or not we have some serious problems or not with its flight planning system being the default Asobo autopilot systems and things like that. So I'd imagine it's not going to be VATSIM ready from what I've read and heard and seen, but we will explore, and I'll come up with my own decision towards the end of the stream. I'm not sure who has this in the live chat actually either. I know they've sold quite a few. Monitoring the FSS Discord over the last few days, prior to and after release, and it seems like there are a fair few people already enjoying it in its current state, and they're happy to wait and watch the progress of it as well over time. Joey Goofy's asking who's made the scenery. It's VMworld in cooperation with AmSim, I believe, Seattle, and we got the Vertical Sim Boise as well. And by the way, I've set up some custom views today, and I've put them into my custom view pack in lightsim.to. Let's dive into the aeroplane. And here we are. From the inside, we can go in and out of the flight deck door. It does open, which is a nice little animation. You can walk in and out. It's a little bit odd looking. I know the Embraers look a little bit strange anyway. Happy New Year, Shaquille. I hope you're well, buddy. Yeah, it's a little bit odd, and I've noticed a few things already with the aircraft, like the way the throttles and stuff work. So we don't have, at idle, we don't have a reverse thrust on the setup that most of us use. So I've reached out to FSS and asked them, look, this is the situation. These are the keybinds that I've got set for the aircraft. What do we need to do? And they've said you need to toggle reverse as a keybind, which then does that. So it's one click on, one click off, and then you can extend the throttles, having toggled it onto idle basically, which is a bit different. Speed brake, I can't get a keybind for that, so I have to, yeah, my button for it doesn't work. Again, it's a key binding issue that they've not sorted, but yeah, there we go. Price, 33, is it dollars or quid? Effectively it's £40, which is a lot of money for an early access, what is effectively an alpha. I think that's woefully expensive for what you are getting, maybe, from what we've read in documents and stuff that we've seen so far. They have added this though. Early access may not be complete yet, but we're constantly working on it. Please carefully follow the procedure guide for a smoother experience. You can toggle that on and off as you see fit, or just on rather, off rather. EFB limited at the moment. Payload, zero fuel weights and things are all sorted inside the horrible weight and balance menu that I absolutely hate. But we've toggled it anyway. We've got the fuel set as per the requirements on sim brief, although fuel 3,570 kilograms, and it's in litres here, so there's a bit of a conversion going on. That's fine. We'll see how we go. But there's no other, you know, functionality to this yet beyond brightness. I'll probably turn it down, to be honest, for now. You can open all the doors, as I'm sure you guys have probably already seen on various... My goodness, it's loud. On various streams so far. Interestingly, the sounds got very loud inside, but when we jumped outside, we didn't get much from one angle. But, you know, I'm sure you guys agree, it's a beautiful looking model, isn't it? GSX is a little bit problematic at the moment too, from what I understand. They're working on trying to sort out a proper profile for it to make it work nicely. We're going to find out one of the issues with it on Pushback, which is where it effectively sinks into the ground. Right, anyway, let's explore still. So, into the rear. We start off in the galley, the kitchen area of the aeroplane. It's nice they've made an effort with creating quite a nice cabin. Hello, Bacon Sani, welcome. Doctor on board as well, hello, hello. Andy, welcome. Do you reckon I could sell a really rubbish looking plane as long as the systems and flight model were fine? Who knows? I'm sure people would buy it. Look at half of the stuff on Sim Market, just saying. Yeah, cabin looks okay. The one thing I'm really not a fan of inside the cabin is the fact that most of the window shades seem to be down or in a half position, which is a little bit frustrating when you are trying to set up custom views like these. So these are the ones that I've shared on flightsim.to. I wanted to set up a few for today so we can have a look at the wing flex and enjoy it from various different angles inside and out throughout the flight to Boise today. There we are. And then a good old looking forwards of the cabin view as well. But anyway, the business ends at the front. That's where we care about the most. Captain Orange is saying, who cares about a dumb cabin if you're the pilot? Well, a lot of people seem to care about a cabin a lot, let's face it. Probably one of the issues at the moment is the fact that everybody is seeking a detailed cabin in addition to complex systems and everything else. It's a lot for developers to kind of tackle. Anyway, let's close this up and let's bring some power to the aircraft. I am using their procedures guide today because, well, it's only fair to do that. That's what they've asked everybody flying to do, so we shall try it. To load the flight plan, I've had to take a SimBrief flight plan, download the .fpl file, I think it is, and then load it in the world menu of Microsoft Flight Simulator. So it's like stepping back in time to August 2020. Andy, thanks. Bacon Sunny saying, my Scania truck in Euro Truck Simulator 2 has more working systems than this aircraft and it sounds better too. So we've done performance planning via SimBrief. It's recommended using the E175 profile. We've done that. Direct route import into the MCDU is possible via the MSFS world map menu. I'm hoping in one of the upcoming updates. Sooner rather than later, they add in proper Sunbury functionality. But it says, having done what I've done today, the route should automatically be added to the E-Jet's MCDU upon loading. And let's jump into that power-up sequence to get power to the aeroplane. So I'm going to quieten down Epidemic Sound for now. And we're going to go down here to battery on. Very gentle bing. Battery 2 to auto. Up here to GPU available. Now in use. APU to start. Nav lights on. Logo lights on. Emergency lights set to armed. So I'm going to turn the fasten seatbelt signs and no smoking signs on as well while we're here. And then effectively the aeroplane should be alive. A lot of this is already in automatic, as we can see. This is the first time flying this aircraft, so I have no idea how quickly I'll learn it. This is literally the first time flying it, loading in the lot. So, who knows. Fire extinguisher test doesn't work. Windshield heating does. Ice protection, good. Not sure if it's modelled yet though. Now, interestingly, there's a GPU available. So you push it in. APU on, then start, which is what we've done. I would expect APU gen up here to be on. Battery 1 and 2 discharging. Do we have the APU on? Let's have a little look. APU's 100% apparently. I think it turned on very quick, to be fair. And by the looks of it, we have to use GPU to start the aircraft. Looking at the system stuff. So anyway, let's clear that off. We've got battery 1 and 2 discharging. That I don't think is particularly correct. It can't be. Map. Let's turn some of these down because they are super bright. PFD. ICAS. Let's turn this down. One of the things they talk about in relation to improving performance of the aircraft is to turn off the screens on the right hand side, but I never fly with screens on the right turned off anymore, so we will just see what frames are like in the meantime anyway, and we will turn our attention to the FMS. So they've got this, they've talked about it before, the little piping section here, which is quite interesting. It's, I think, the first time I've seen an aircraft add-on with it, which is nice. Delta Tango says it's called an E-Jet because they expect you to be impressed with all of the pretty lights and buttons, then press Control E. Oh god. I hope not. Right, we need 1228. So, is this VATSIM ready? Is going to be one of the big questions we're going to answer today. Already my inclination is no, because of a lot of missing features on board the aircraft. It used default autopilot. And there, yeah, it's quite bare bones for a 0.9, let's face it. So I personally don't think it's something that you should really use on VATSIM. We're doing it today though to kind of, well, put it to the test and see whether or not I'll change my mind. Comm stack down the bottom. Trim, we're going to leave those neutral. Cockpit door. Sounds permanently unlocked. Yeah, you can't do direct twos, which is a key thing in VATSIM, let's face it, and being able to change your star and things like that. Okay, right. Where should we start? Perf. No, we need flight plan. So it's already loaded it in. Runway 016 left to Nevjo, Delta 2 Summer. and we need to really kind of compare this before we depart anywhere against Navigraph to make sure it matches what we expect on this summer 2 departure. So Nevjo, summer. So interestingly, it wants us to go Nevjo and then intercept an outbound radial of 146 degrees from the Seattle VOR. Doesn't look like it can do that by the looks of the nav display up here. We need KC, METAR, 2980. Plan. Map. God. Oh well, it's got an element of weather map. That's quite nice. We'll leave that on anyway. So we'll just look at the chart. So from summer, we're looking at going to next Wanta Kota Brava Kilo Echo, which is Baker City, and that's on the charts there as it extends out to the right hand side. From there, we need to really quality assure this entire sector. So from Kota, Baker, we're then going to go Devley, Mala, Cayenne, Clean. Though interestingly, it wants Jimmy. So Cayenne, unless that's minimum clean. Boy Wurag, Jimmy Sitzer. Okay, but that's interesting. So really, the charts say we should go Cayenne, Jimmy. Let me just do some admin here at Boise. So we're expecting the ILS Zulu 10 right. So let's add that. Yeah, straight in from Jimmy. So that's expecting us to overfly the VOR, which is something we've not actually been able to sort out. So I wonder if I can delete these. No. So we're going to... So you can't actually fly the procedure properly either. Fantastic. Start as we mean to go on. Yeah, so already my answer is no. You can't fly on VATSIM because sometimes you need to rely on LNAV, VNAV a little bit. I say rely on it loosely in the sense that you need to be able to trust the systems a little bit, and this you can't. Sometimes your capacity bucket, as I call it, is very full. Cruise altitude should be flight level 350, not 5,000. There we go. Cruise winds, let's see if we can input this. Whether it has an impact, I don't know, I'm not sure, but if we can, we'll try. 247 at 57. That's in. And the zero fuel weight is 29.3. Takeoff center of gravity, I think that's up here, isn't it? 17.5, which is matches the screen that we just saw. B2 plus 10 for departure. Takeoff heading on runway 16 left is 164. We're going to go for wet. And the wind at the moment is 110 at 10. Saying flaps 2. V1. I mean, that can't be right, can it? V1 of 42 knots. Oh, nice. Aviation Alfie Mackers. Very nice. Hello. Beeline Pilot says 100% not VATSIM ready. Another, well, I don't think it's a scam because they have, let's face it, been honest about the features that it has and hasn't got at the moment. So, scam is a word we've seen thrown around a lot at the moment in the community. And yeah, it's not a scam. It's a product that I think they've released way too soon just for some cash. I don't really understand the release, but you know, now, but it's interesting. Delta Tango says this flight, along with your Mad Dog flight in 2 days, might require a calming medicinal beverage, gin and tonic, of course. Yeah, pray to God no ATC comes online. I mean, this is making me scratch my head a little bit here. I mean, that's better than the PA-28s that I used to fly. Let's see, what else have we got here? E-Jet series. So what? Let me show you guys this, if it's maybe something that's going to pop up for you. So this is what I'm looking at. They've got 3 different documents basically. FAQs, E-Jet series set of documents about how to set it all up and things. MCDU guide, perf index. Spectrum customization data, not simulated yet, takeoff and landing fuel, calculated takeoff and landing fuel, user entry, alternate fuel. Departure limits, speed limits, static value that the flight director will pitch to after takeoff, overwrite by the user. So, I mean, they don't really tell us about how... Takeoff in it, hold on, here we go, is this it? Flex isn't implemented, takeoff page. So decision speed is automatically calculated when all required weights have been entered, overwrite by the user. But they don't really talk about how it all is. Lucy, hello to you, welcome. MG King, welcome. Automator, might as well be a Cessna. I hope not. They don't actually talk about how yeah, what the relevant speeds are. I'm going to go with, I mean, 142 sounds high. So does 159 and 174. Hold on, let me find typical E175 takeoff speed. Good old Google. Correct takeoff speed is using the full length of runway 10 with flap 1 at a certain airport. V1 145, V rotate 145. Now, I'm not sure what weights these are based on, but they seem a lot more reasonable than 90... oh, bollocks. Excuse my French. The heck is VFS? What was that value before? Final segment climb speed. I don't know, I'll do 250. Takeoff pitch 10 degrees apparently. Climb. Transition 18,000. I'm going to ignore the rest of that for now. Descent, it has no VNAV, so that's all irrelevant as well. V speeds. Nothing in there to help us, but we will think about that when we are on approach. Although interestingly, we've got approach speeds here fixed. No green dot, by the way, either. I think that's it. That's all there is to it, I think. We can tune. Bobby, hello to you as welcome. Oh, it was 97 before, Brian. Thank you. So yeah, much better. The values that I've now got in. So we're expecting 1168. Let's tune it into nav1 anyway. Does it have the ability to track a VOR course? I don't think it does. Well, then it does have a course knob down here. Com2, Com1. Shouldn't that be nav1, nav2?
Seattle ground, Delta 21 is leaving the north ramp, could be taxi 16 left via Bravo and Delta.
Okay, that click spot's a little bit off. Course doesn't do anything. Right. Heading select. We need this on runway heading, which was, what was it, 100 and... we'll call it 162. Real plane doesn't track VORs. Awesome. Good to know. Thank you, Brian. Lead APU valve open. Well, I'd hope so. Navs are on. Strobes are off. I mean, I think we're there. I think we're ready, to be honest. It's about to go... that's it, Quecker. It's about to go down. I mean, before I went into the stream today, I had a little look on the FSS Discord, and I said to some people that are already using it, what do you guys think so far? And what would be the one tip, the biggest tip that you would offer people if they were getting into the aircraft for the first time? And I had a little bit of feedback from a few people. Books said if it's following an LNAV path, then suddenly turns away from it, just leave it. It will realise after a minute and return back to the track. It's just a bit confused. It sounds a bit of a pain in the backside, but we will see if that happens to us today. The route is quite short though. Gensight's Fluke machine said turn the brightness of the first officer's displays completely down as it significantly helps frames per second in the current state of development. Oh, actually, that's the only feedback I had, to be fair. So, I think we're there. But ultimately, I have no idea. What's our... that's set to 1,000, but actually we want to climb... top altitude assigned by ATC. Runway 16 left is climb on a heading 164, and then a radial of 161 away from Seattle to Nevjo. Then left turn heading 131 to intercept the radial 146 to Summer. We'll see what happens. Altitude select. We might as well just 350 for cruise. We'll set 7,000 for now and just see what happens. We've got flight path angle, altitude, plus feet or meters. That's interesting. And then we've got push for IAS or MAC. Auto throttle VNAV. VNAV's not clickable because it's not active. Flight level change. Yaw damper's active. SRC's not working. We've got approach mode, nav, heading, flight directors. I'm going to put the flight directors on. It's on both actually now. Cythera, we are indeed. Figured the best way to find out if something is ready for VATSIM is to take it onto VATSIM. I mean, outside it looks pretty good, doesn't it? Rab, yeah, you know, I've tried to completely ignore a lot of streams because A, some people are slating the heck out of it and then retracting it and being like, oh, actually, it's quite enjoyable. Not a fan of that. And B, yeah, it's just been it's been an interesting release, hasn't it? It's probably the best way to sum it up. There's been a huge amount of negativity. There's been some people enjoying it as well, but I would describe the release as having been quite the whirlwind. So I've intentionally, beyond the cruise level DE stream pre-release that a lot of us watched, beyond that I've not watched anything because I figured I'd just have my own experience and then I'll come up with my own opinion of it without any other influence elsewhere effectively. What would be the fairest way to assess it? Seattle traffic, SkyWest 3443, ready check.
Bravo 5, how copy?
Woo! Readability 5.
Appreciate it. Seattle Seattle
So
traffic.
I've got flow. I have no idea how it works, to be honest. It's an absolute headache, but it is running in the background. I have no idea how to use it still. And let's prepare for pushback. Apparently, from what I've heard, the pin goes into one of the engines. There goes one of the Ospreys. Love it. Straight into the pea soup. Yeah, I've got a button to float. Say that, I've actually disengaged it today, but there we go. I've got flow set up. I've actually got a GSX profile, but although maybe it's because I'm a doofus and I've just realised it needs to be in here. Community widgets. Oh, there we go. Hey, we're learning as we go. It's all going on. Love it. I assume that's... oh, there we go. Beautiful. Oh. But waiting for other services to complete refueling. Why is the fuel truck on its way? Restart QATL. Marcus says it did not deserve the flak it copped. It's a beautiful model of the 175 and we can fly around it without issues. To me that's good enough for early access. So I think the main thing here is you can't really use it on Unicorn though, from what I've gathered. I mean, so far it's been an interesting experience. Already, making you kind of realise that it's not ready for VATSIM. I think if you were to fly the aircraft on VATSIM, you're going to cause more problems than you need to effectively, and I don't think that is particularly fair on other people in the sim. Certainly on VATSIM, everybody's trying to replicate the real world. If you then depart with a random flight plan, you can't do direct twos, so it's a problem for the controller. You don't have VNAV, so you end up descending too low or you're too high, and there's issues with keybinds. And it just seems to me at the moment, in its current form, it doesn't sound like it's ready for VATSIM, or certainly appropriate to be used on VATSIM is probably the better way to explain it. Let's turn the beacon on.
Check completed.
Joel, that's probably the best way to explain it, to be totally honest. I'd probably describe it more as an alpha than a beta. I think that's probably fair.
Seattle traffic, Osprey 2472 is pushback and start from stand C17, but we'll wait for the departing Embraer Seattle traffic.
Nick, hello. Yes, it's Flow by 42. I've resisted it for a while, but I purchased it yesterday because I thought, well, let's just give it a go, see what it's like. So we're expecting a little bit of craziness here. We need the nose to go left. And I'm assuming the GPU will stay connected as their workaround, maybe. Seattle traffic, SkyWest 3443 at stand Quebec 10, push start, face north.
Release parking brakes. Commencing push. Due to icing.
So, I mean, there's a model issue as well there. The lights from the tug are actually illuminating through the aircraft. I need to find the procedure guide, checklist. My goodness. Transponder TARA, it's automatically on by the looks of it, though it's not squawking mode Charlie. There's no way down here to set it, it's all digital, isn't it? So I don't know. We'll just keep it in flight plan mode because otherwise it's not going to achieve anything else. That's interesting. Drone follow mode has disengaged itself. I mean, it's not sunk
Set
into the...
parking brakes.
Oh yeah, there's the nose wheel, look. We'll find out what happens in a second. So ignition up here, I think, isn't it? So we've got APUs on. That's all good.
Seattle traffic, Osprey 2306 will be taxiing to runway 16 left via Bravo and Charlie. Seattle traffic.
Interesting.
Osprey cargo 804, pushing back and starting at cargo ramp 5.
So APU doesn't work properly, I don't think. At 7% fuel flow. We should already have some fuel flow though, I believe. It's not like there's a fuel control lever here to flick. If in doubt, control E. Let's confirm good engine start. Let's just do it now, shall we? So flow.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
So it looks like we've got engine 1 started. Let's do engine 2. Sounds very quiet, aren't they? Thomas, very default. Think original A320. Right, left. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, I was trying to get my head around that with the lights off. It's a little bit Airbus style, isn't it? Where lights off is a good thing.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass bin removed.
Dome
Left is
lights,
clear.
which is quite
Right is
nice.
clear.
Let's check out some flap animations as well. So engine 1 and 2 are ready. So after start, it's going to be flap set, APU set as required, hydraulic system 3, electric pump A on, which we've already done that to be fair, then taxi lights on as well. How many flap settings is that? So we've gone for 1. We want flap 2. I mean, it doesn't look like it's that well deflected, to be honest. Spoilers are now extending and retracting, which is quite nice. Might have just been the fact I hadn't got the hydraulic system pressurised properly, but I'd like to see them ping up a little bit quicker. I'd imagine they ping up quicker in the real aircraft. Then we go full right on the aileron, full left. That's a mega quite a nice animation, but huge deflection of the ailerons there, isn't it? Have we just used this view for now? We'll have a look at rudder right and left. And elevator as well, like so. So all round, the animations look okay. Sounds need a bit of work, of course. It is early access, so that's the caveat. Gear Up Aviation, nice one. Wearing the British Av Geek merchandise cap. Nice work. ICAS check, brake temperature, yeah. Taxi lights. Let's turn the dome light off. I feel like the weather's changed time. We've wound the time to... What the heck? It's 16:33. It's supposed to be about 8:20. Because that's when the real flight actually departed. Sounded like a little ding-dong there. Okay, so taxi lights in the middle here. We've got nose, side. Logo lights are set. Takeoff config is down here. We've got push the button. We could also turn the APU off. Because everything else is illuminated to suggest packs and everything are on. So, yeah, lights extinguished, as we found in the chat. It's a good thing. Performance is okay at the moment for me. Bearing in mind I'm running the sim in 2K at the moment. Yeah, performance seems okay. The animations of the yoke from the inside look like this. That's alright, that looks pretty good. And same with the rudder pedals. I think there was a mention about the window opening as well. There we go. It's a nice touch. And down here we've got tiller that, by the looks of it, we can actually steer using our hands, which is quite nice. Okay, taxi then. So we are on, what are we on? Whiskey. Whiskey Bravo, hold point Delta. Seattle traffic, SkyWest 3443 is taxiing to hold point Delta, runway 16 left via Whiskey and Bravo. Seattle traffic. So, let's continue. Tab VATSIM ATIS, we can go KC, no results because we have no ATC online. Little bit of power. It's the part break off, it is. And we're rolling. Drone camera seems to be clashing with something today, which is weird because I've not changed any settings except for flow. I don't know if flow's getting in the way. Ooh, hello, look at that, that's quite choppy actually at the moment. It's made a bit of a difference. Wish you could get rid of the EFB as well, because it's totally pointless at the moment. Whether or not you can or not, you guys I'm sure will point it out. I mean, it's nice to have an Embraer in the sim, let's face it. That's something that's a bit different. Let's go auto brake RTO.
Seattle traffic, Delta 565, pushing back from Quebec 16.
Rab, no. It's MK Studios Dublin, probably, for using that. I can't use it without having a crash to desktop, sadly. Looks like somebody's using, is that the Fenix A320 or something? The gear's looking a bit funky.
Seattle traffic, Osprey 2472 is taxiing into runway 16 left via Concourse Charlie 66 Bravo and Whiskey.
Is there a way
Delta. Seattle traffic.
to zoom out of this map, change the range? I'm yet to find a range ring toggle. Chinook, why are the right screens off? As we started to taxi, there was a fairly rapid degradation of performance. So we've ended up having to actually turn them off to save frames. Which is a shame, because it's nice to have them on.
Sierra traffic, Delta 565, taxi runway 16 via Bravo holding Charlie.
Yes, there it is. Is it the cursor system?
Osprey Cargo 804 taxiing to 16
Good shout.
left.
Well done, guys.
To holding point Charlie via Alpha.
Toga
Seattle
keybind
traffic.
apparently doesn't work. Not sure, haven't tried it. We'll find out during departure. There isn't a flex, so effectively we're just going to have maximum speed. Toga mode there, but I'm hoping Toga will arm itself. I'm just going to review before takeoff. Yeah, so they kind of skip through a lot of stuff. But that's because they've released it quite early, Tattooed Bacon. Let's face it, they've probably released it too early. Why they've released it at this stage, I really am unsure of. Well, I just don't know the reasons why they've released it now. If, for example, hypothetically, because I've asked the question but they haven't answered in their Discord, if hypothetically it took them a few months to put the default FMS in, why did they not just spend a few more months putting in their custom FMS? There are questions that I can't really get my head around at the moment. Toga button while taxiing to armor Toga, and auto throttle takes over at 60% N2. So that's I've pressed Toga now.
Seattle traffic, Osprey
Yeah, exactly, Tattooed Bacon. And yeah, there's that caveat of, oh, if you wait, you'll have to spend more money on the final product. But I think, is it going to be much more expensive? I really don't know. Bearing in mind it's already 40 quid with VAT or tax to purchase this in early access alpha. I think that's probably more realistic as a final price, not an early access price. Bearing in mind you've got the likes of the PMDG 737 at that sort of price level, with the 600 being a bit cheaper if you took it as a bit of an average. You've got Fenix A320 is only a few quid more expensive as well. That's complete. So I think you're taking a massive gamble. It's not like you're doing a bit of crowdfunding for an established developer. You're effectively throwing 40 quid at a company that's never been heard of before until now. Yeah, the CRJ is the same price as well. Joey Goofy saying there that they said that it will probably have 2 price increments. I think if it was to be beyond £40 including tax, it's too much.
In the Seattle traffic, Osprey 2306 at 16 left.
Yes, the TFDI cash grab's another
departure.
thing that
Seattle.
I disagree with massively. Shadow traffic, Skywest 3443 after the departing Osprey Airways A321 departs, lining up runway 16 left. Strobes, let's just turn all the lights on. Wow, they're pretty cool emissives. So including tax and Cythera, we're looking €70. Ultimately, from what I've seen so far and a couple of the issues we've had, my advice would be to hang on. My God, we're picking up some speed here. Just get back into the flight deck. Yes, Cythera, that's what I mean. So then you add the tax, and 50 to 60 euros becomes 70 euros. So you've always got to add the tax in at the end, because let's face it, we pay tax on stuff we buy. Yeah, I just disagree with the pricing structure massively at the moment. I don't know what their overheads are, so I can't really fairly say, oh, it's too much. But I personally think it's too much money. Captain Sim is pretty disgusting as well. Can't stand Captain Sim products. They are woefully inadequate and woefully overpriced, and they under-deliver massively. Okay, well, I have no idea what to expect here, so we're going to just go in for a takeoff, and we'll see what happens.
Airborne at 4,000 feet, climbing to 35.
We'll try and make it to Boise without dying. Seattle traffic, SkyWest 3443 is taking off runway 16 left, summer 2.
Godspeed.
Something like that. Or I'm going to hit the ground fairly quick.
Say your prayers.
Right, okay, so 40%. Get rid of the brakes. Hadn't realised I'd set those. Yeah, Joey Goofy, people forget that Captain Sim aren't the same development house that we know of before. Interesting. So, Toga didn't work. Very, very choppy speed display. Look at that speed display on the left-hand side. Very bumpy, and actually now it's already taking off by on its own accord. So maybe 120 would have been a bit more reasonable. Let's go gear up. It's now spooled down quite substantially. So auto throttle's got the jet. Autopilot. Let's turn nav on. And just see what happens. Until I see, Clip saying, until I see live up to what they're going to bring to the Embraer 175, I won't buy most of these products that are early access because they just go to crap. Yeah, not far off. Yeah, sounds are pretty non-existent. Outside, very quiet. I mean, as we keep saying, it's a beautiful model. It's a very, very nice model. I think, is it an X-Wing or is it a purchase model? I forget. God, click spots are really hectic. That's the world's fastest acceleration. And yeah, the speed tape is very, very choppy. Go up to 220. Oh, for goodness sake.
Seattle traffic, Alaska 766.
We'll keep going.
Position Charlie 66.
Flight level 350.
Left via Bravo, Seattle.
Anyway, we're airborne anyway, that's the main thing. X-Craft's made the model, who is funnily enough making the same exact aircraft in X-Plane. There we go, so it's an X-Craft model, which is probably why it's very nice indeed. In a way, you can't really give much credit then to FSS for the model, because someone else has made it and they purchased it off them, which is no different to what Brecon did, the 737 MAX. But it is a beautiful external model, isn't it? Marcus, but you have to draw a line. You do have to draw a line somewhere. Similarly, you know, the very beginnings of Microsoft Flight Simulator, we were enjoying a very, very basic default A320 Neo, weren't we? It's weird hearing no sound. And the primary flight display is very choppy. So there are performance issues. Joey, yeah, there does seem to be a bit of a thing at the moment, isn't there, about Microsoft Flight Simulator being the catalyst for development firms all of a sudden saying, oh, early access this, early access that. TFDI did it, and now obviously these guys have done it as well with an early access aircraft.
Company traffic at holding point Delta. Correction, holding point Charlie, Seattle traffic.
It is squawking mode Charlie on departure though, so it's kind of recognised it. Tattooed bacon, probably a CRJ 700 size. Yeah, for the price, what you're getting is pretty minimal, to be honest. I think it's what we've seen so far, too much. Now, I'm not expecting very much in the cruise. I'm not expecting many problems in the cruise or anything else, because, well, A, we're flying in a region where there is no ATC, so we're in Unicom. We're not expecting vectors or deviations of track or anything like that. We're not expecting arrival route changes or anything either. But yeah, I disagree with the whole early access release, to be honest. I think they've timed it very badly indeed. It's a shame because it looks stunning. I mean, look at it. It's very nice. Let's pop nose lights off. Taxi lights could probably go off as well.
Osprey cargo 804 will be lining up a 16 left after the parking runway. Seattle copy.
It's weird I can't move this either. It's like half the screen missing. Who's the circle jerk, Knox? Gear Up saying, if FSS had tried actually drawing a line, it would look like a squiggle. That's brilliant. It's a very jumpy PFD, isn't it? The refresh rate, by the way, folks, is on medium. It says on the on their checklist, the E-Jet series documentation, to have it at least on medium. So we've set medium. Yeah, very, very jerky indeed. One of the things that stood out to me on their release stream was the fact that they kind of had a little bit of a laughy dig at Aerosoft, because they were, oh, our hosts haven't even released their aircraft yet, i.e. the A330. They didn't specify it, but they made it very clear what they were talking about. But they were like, yo, their hosts have been developing a plane for over a year and they've not even released anything yet. And that to me was a little bit naive, because there's a reason for it, because it's ready. I mean, what doesn't help, and this has been widely documented now, is the aviation lads hyped up marketing videos, but people forget that those guys are paid by developers to make adverts effectively. They are a marketing team on YouTube who have a YouTube channel. So it's a little bit potentially deceiving, or maybe less so deceiving, easily confused is probably the best way to explain it, to be honest. It's the sort of thing that people could be easily confused by, because they don't realise that actually a lot of their videos are cinematic pieces of work that are commissioned by the developers. So they're very good at making beautiful videos. They do make some exquisite videos, but they are just adverts, and that's what people lose track of and forget quite easily. And then it's created this, well, frankly, poo storm, to put it without swearing, in the release, because there was a lot of criticism about how it had been hyped up massively via these videos, but in effect they didn't actually show what the product is at all, which is a real shame, and it left a lot of confusion and a bit of a sour taste in people's mouths too. Their website, as Knox is saying, does say quite clearly that it's early access, and it also now says, having been updated recently with a bit of criticism, it does also say that if you don't want to buy it yet, don't buy it, because it's not complete. I think a proper price point for this might have been £10 to £15 for the early access that it offers, because, I mean, speed mode. Doing 210 knots at flight level 218, for God's sake. Heading mode, yaw damper, auto thrust is on. I feel like I'm flying having had gin before even having any gin. Can we not go to standard pressure? Oh, that's there. There we go. Yep, standard, lovely. Well, no. So Nox, the problem is their website is actually a little bit badly created. Let me bring it up. There are some issues that I still have with it to this day, to be frank. God, I can't find their website anywhere. Where's their website? Oh, where's our products? That's got to load it up, surely. Yes, found it. Good old links. Okay, so this is their website. We've gone, well, I mean, you guys may have seen it more than I have in various streams and things already, but we're going to talk about it because it's now come up as a topic. So, I've got no idea what it's doing, but now we've gone to 225 knots. This is well messy for auto thrust. Aircraft. It's not a great website. So they turn around and say E-Jet Series Early Access, stunning detail, wrong. Lacking detail. Detailed systems, that I still woefully disagree with. They need to remove that completely because it's, well, it's misleading. Custom lighting, yeah, the lighting's quite nice. Explore the world, generic, doesn't mean anything, that's fine. But yeah, number 2 there. Stunning detail, I think they can get away with because the exterior is beautiful. But yeah, detailed systems, get rid of it, it's inaccurate and incorrect. They talk about, so here we go. We have now released the E175 as an early access product with the rest of the series coming later. The E175 already offers many custom systems, high resolution and accurate avionics, the FMS with an authentic interface, fully implemented sounds, and the 3D assets and animations are already finished and of top level quality. BS. That's wrong. It's just not correct. That's completely inaccurate. It's default Asobo autopilot logic, default Asobo auto thrust, and just a mess. Like, system-wise, it's not top-level quality, and it's not already finished, and it's not custom. And then they go on to say that the early access phase there will still be bugs and missing features, as with any newly released. Oh, as I'll put my teeth in. Sorry. As with any newly released software, but you will already be able to do full flights and enjoy the products. You can, not on VATSIM though. If you want to just go direct to A and B, it can. Just gonna hide this because what is it doing? I don't understand what it's doing at the moment. It's supposed to be climbing to flight level 350 at Mach 78. I mean, can it go on VATSIM? The answer's no. But that's quite clear already, isn't it? Let's face it. Jeff, hello, welcome. What is out trying to maintain? I've got no idea. I've got absolutely no idea what it's doing. David's saying, I'm not sure. I think that's to... Is it Marcus or Knox, I think? I'm not sure in the chats. So David's basically replying saying, I agree with MG King and a lot of other folks. It's definitely an early access, early alpha, but at a top spec price. Matthew saying, perhaps it's flying on gin instead of jet fuel. It would be some cheap petrol station gin if that's the case. Isn't this the dolphin thing from Asobo's autopilot? No idea. It's a mess. Yeah, Dada Tango raises a good point. It's something we've raised in the past. Says, I think the concern British AvGeek has shared in the past is that many new people to simming may not be able to tell the difference between a legitimate attempt at shared expense development and a piece of garbage. I wouldn't necessarily describe this as a piece of garbage because they can get away with bits in the sense that, oh, it's early access, but yeah, I mean their website, I can't stand the wording on the website. That whole paragraph there is false advertisement because it comes underneath early access. We've now released the Embraer 175 as an early access product, and then it talks about its custom systems, high resolution, accurate avionics, FMS with authentic interface, fully implemented sounds, animations already finished and of top level quality. It's just incorrect. It's not. It's a lie. Whilst yeah, that probably would be the case in, I don't know, a few months or maybe next year when they release the final product, whenever it might be. But for now, that whole sentence is inaccurate. It needs removing. Please note the initial package only involves the 175. Free update as soon as we can, that's fine. And then the 190, 195 is planned but not to be included in this package. So they want 40 quid in early access for this, which will rise to an undisclosed figure at some point in the future. To be honest, I think it'll be mad if it goes beyond 40. And then you need another 40 quid probably for the 190, 195. They add the disclaimer here. Do not buy this product if you are not comfortable using the product at this early access phase. We are going to finish these products no matter how much support we receive initially, which intimates that if they received 0 sales, they would still be developing this. And we really do not want any customers to be disappointed by not understanding what the early access means. And then they go on to talk about why are we offering early access. Our ultimate goal is to create advanced level products using a custom FMS and a custom autopilot, but that takes a lot of time. That now already contradicts that paragraph, which I have a real problem with, it seems. How will the products be priced? So €33.57 plus VAT, that's 40 euros, £37 roughly, exchange rate dependent, 45 US dollars I think is it, 45 to 50 US dollars plus VAT. As new airframes and advanced features will be added, the price of the product will increase accordingly for new customers only. We're expecting a maximum of 2 price increases to get the final advanced product. I think it would be mad for them to go beyond 33.57. Round it to 35 plus VAT if you have to. I don't know. It's kind of difficult to see where they're trying to place this pricing wise. We still haven't reached cruise. We're doing a lot of bobbing up and down though. Cornelius, hello. Brick saying, let's be honest, it's still better than the virtual coal. Yeah, not by much though at the moment in its current state. Let's face it. Let's face it. Fritz, it's quite a hefty price tag for early access. What is effectively an alpha. Rick saying, I was very excited to fly an Embraer because I work on them daily, yet I was scammed into buying the virtual coal version. It's unfortunate you didn't see my video at the time because I basically said don't buy it, it's rubbish for that virtual coal Embraer. That was $25 for a freeware lookalike. Let's hope this will be better in the future. Hopefully Yeah, I don't know. So far, up to cruise, now I think we can probably call it cruise. Auto thrust hasn't actually been able to accelerate to its cruise speed at all. Yeah, I've got no idea what it's doing, to be quite honest with you guys. I mean, interestingly here, hello Mary, there's a toggle here between manual speed and FMS speed. And there's a little toggle bit there, but I don't know if you can see that. It doesn't do anything. Now it seems to be accelerating again. Nox Gaming says, bottom of the page, the feature list was enough to demonstrate that it's in a state that I don't want to invest in it. But the problem is that most people, so you've read to the bottom of the page, which is great. Full feature list. But it's deceiving in itself with the website here. The second paragraph that you're going to read talks about how it already offers all of this mega juicy stuff. Not right. So some people at that point will go, you know what, click, I'll buy that, and then they won't realise what they're actually getting themselves into. Can I fly this on, this is interesting, can I fly this on VATSIM? We do not recommend using the aircraft for online flights at this stage. Correct, they've acknowledged that, that's quite good, first time I've seen that. Yeah, they're basically saying themselves, don't fly it on VATSIM. It says, however, it ultimately depends on the capabilities of each individual user. So you could be some, mega pilot at this, but ultimately, it's not suitable for VATSIM. Feature overview. Yeah, the 3D model that we've been enjoying so far is really nice, created by X-Crafts from the X-Plane community. Flight behaviour is generally good-natured, and even under difficult weather conditions, the E-jets are easy to control. Sound designer has spent hundreds of hours converting our reference material into usable Microsoft Flight Simulator sounds. So, I mean, this seems to be that the actual product page that they've created for the E-jet series is based on what it's going to be like in about a year from now, at the end of its final development. But then, every now and again they drop in about simulation system. Most of the auto logic has already been implemented in the early access version. Has it? Flight management system in the early access version is based on the standard flight plan system of Microsoft Flight Simulator. However, it has a custom interface that mimics the Load 27 software installed on the real aircraft. In addition, there are several modifications concerning SIDS and star selection and waypoint management. Unfortunately, the native Microsoft Flight Simulator flight plan system doesn't allow us to implement all the functions of the real FMS. Therefore, they have to create they haven't decided to, they have to create a custom FMS, which will contain the majority of the currently missing features. It's just a very confusing website page. I was confused reading it for the first time when I was researching the aircraft, because it sounded like I was getting more than than we actually have. This is their latest statement from a few days ago, 9th of January. A lot of emotion about their early access release. Many negative reactions in addition to many supportive and positive comments. We were too excited about the release and have set the expectations too high with our teaser videos, but they knew exactly what they were getting themselves into, because they've asked Aviation Labs to develop videos covering certain things. I mean, at the same time, there should be a little bit of accountability from the fact that Aviation Labs have effectively just gone, yeah, fine, pay us, we'll make whatever you want, without saying, if we do X, Y, and Z, it's going to upset some people. Matty, it's crazy, isn't it? It's almost seasickness inducing. Yeah, Nox Gaming, that's fine. Saying I'm not going to blame the developers for my own lack of control. It sounds compulsive, but we've seen from the community so far there are elements of the community who are quite compulsive. They just, you know, they hear, or they, for example, see the Aviation Lads videos, and that's enough for them to go, you know what, I'm buying that. Yeah, it's not terrible for those of you who like offline flying, who like to go from A to B. It's perfectly adequate for that, but at 40 quids, I think they're asking a bit too much from something that is very, very early access. Model is beautiful though, I've got to say. It's very, very nice aircraft model itself. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably handling the aircraft in some instances incorrectly, but at the same time it's difficult to distinguish what is simulated and what isn't at the moment too, because the website suggests most things are simulated, but then we know that most things aren't. If they are simulated, they're default autopilot or default auto thrust. I think those of you who have purchased the virtual collar E-Jet from early days of Microsoft Flight Simulator will have probably made the mistake once already and would probably steer away from purchasing this. For me, I've only got this, so some add-ons, streamers like myself will only have for a review period, and then it will deactivate. Or one update later, we don't have it to keep. One update later, they go out of date and they break. Like Just Flight Hawk for me, I don't use that anymore because we had reviews on it, enjoyed it for a little while, then they updated it and it broke for me. And I then have to go and purchase it if I want to continue enjoying it, which is great. Whether it's free or not shouldn't influence our opinion in a review. Certainly, I don't think it would be fair to do so, and I think it's not very transparent if we were to get something for free and then say it's amazing if it's not. But at the same time, it's got to be constructive feedback, doesn't it? You can't just slate it because of X, Y, and Z, then next week change your mind and go, oh, actually it's quite enjoyable. I think that doesn't do well for helping the community out at all, to be honest. iFlyer, I think it's slightly better than the virtual column Embraer. Let's face it, it's not much better. Andrew, good morning. Yeah, Brian, you know what? That would be a very, very reasonable price structure, I think, to be totally honest. 20 quids, then increasing to 40 quid for release on completion. That's probably a really nice price structure, to be honest. My advice to you guys so far, now we've got to cruise, would be you've got to wait. Just wait until the final release at the end, because it would just be problematic otherwise. You can't use it online. Yeah, Marcus, you nail on the head there, I think, with that. I think if they had addressed the features properly, if they had created the website in a bit more of a balanced or transparent way, I think that would have probably meant there would have been a lot less confusion and then a lot less emotion involved on its release as well. If they pull it off, as Ian has said, it's going to be great. But there's too many unknowns at the moment, and there are too many variables to who are effectively an unknown developer outside of that aircraft they made in one of the updates recently in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I forget, let me find out. The Series Elite. So they created the Series Elite, but that's a completely different kettle of fish to a complex airliner, let's face it. And yeah, we're all assuming, buying the product, that they're going to make it to a final product. Mike, 100% agree with you there. For 40 quid, you should at least be able to fly online. I think they've priced it too high in early access. Yeah, I mean, as I've said a few minutes ago, if you like... Oops, that's the flight deck door. If you like flying offline, or in Microsoft Flight Simulator multiplayer, and not on an online network like VATSIM or IVAO, then this is probably fine. You can get away with it and enjoy it. Certainly for VATSIM, it's just nowhere near in a position where it's ready yet, and the price I have a real problem with. So for me, it's the price and the way it was advertised. Yeah, I've got some real problems with. If they'd have turned around from day dot and said, look, we're going to release this product on whatever day it was last week, and we are hoping for a bit of community support to raise some funds to continue the development. But by doing so, you're purchasing a very, very early access product that is using a lot of default Asobo systems and needs a heck of a lot of work going into it. Barely has a functioning LNAV, let's face it, and doesn't have a VNAV, then I think they would have ended up getting a trickle of sales, but ultimately the majority of people wouldn't have felt so passionate, either positively or negatively, against this release. I can't get my head around the decisions they've made, but I can kind of see where they're coming from. Everybody needs, the development house needs cash, of course. Neil, hello buddy, welcome. The problem is, what I don't want to see is more developers jumping on the bandwagon with this, going, oh, we'll release this in early access, and then they just get a whole load of cash and then leave it. Or something then takes a year, 2 years to get to its final product. Hi Flyer, how is it for frames per second? I've not had too many issues with the frames per second, to be totally honest, but we have on taxi had to turn the displays off here. What else have we got in here? 58 PSI, so that's the bleeds. Flight controls. Hydraulics. I mean, we haven't completed the flight, so I can't really throw myself into massive criticism of it yet, or kind of make my decision about whether I like it or not, because I haven't completed the full flight. So I'm still holding on a little bit, even though my brain is shouting at me certain things. Radio panel. Right, I hope not. So we're going to be doing the ILS. I've turned the screens on for a little bit on the right hand side just to see what happens, to be honest. Jeff, that's because it then looks like it's a review rather than literally a paid for advert of a bit of marketing. So it's blurring the lines. The Aviation Lads stuff is blurring the lines between a developer actually just advertising their products slash a YouTube channel putting their own YouTube videos together and releasing it. Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing. And again, that's half the problem with this release. Right, we've done that. We're going to be doing the Cayenne arrival via Devley. As we're above 16,000 feet here, no VNAV means we basically have to manage it ourselves. I think if the speed was that much of a problem on the way up as it is going to be on the way down, I think if it's just as much of a problem, I might just disengage auto thrust completely and manage the throttles all the way in, which is another bit of a nightmare really. It's incredibly early access. Marla at or above 10,000, Cayenne at or above 8. Camel's not for us. Jimmy though is 6,000 feet. Expecting ILS Zulu 10 right. And then we can pre-tune this. So we're not flying over the airfield or anything like that. We're not coming in via clean, which is what the aircraft wants us to do. It wants us to vector and route all the way around to clean, and then in Wurag, fly this arc, and then in. We're actually just going to have to self-vector ourselves to Jimmy and then try and establish on the ILS and just see what the default Asobo logic does. The key here is making sure we don't intercept beyond 30 degrees. We need to pre-tune this, so treble 1, decimal 1. Course of 102. Minimums, we'll have to sort that in a minute. Minimums are, my goodness, 3,036 feet. Or on the rad out, 200 feet. That's easier. Do the rad out to 200. Otherwise, I'll be scrolling for pretty much the rest. Yeah, so it wants to go Devley Marla, and then it wants to go all the way around the houses, past the airport, round, and then intercept or fly the approach from flight plan. Cayenne, clean, Boise, so over the airfield, Wurag, and then fly this outbound radial turn into Jimmy, then final approach. We don't want any of that. We can't. Well, it's not actually particularly relevant to our flight today, so it's a little bit messy. We will vector ourselves from, is it Marla? No, from Cayenne. We'll vector ourselves from Cayenne straight to Jimmy. So we're going to have to lose a bit of height as well. It's going to get busy, so I might go quieter than usual while I'm talking through stuff, because well, I would imagine things are going to go wrong and I'm just going to have to hand fly the jet. What have we got weather-wise in Boise? Winds 120 at 10, 10 statute miles visibility, overcast cloud at 4,800 feet, 7 degrees Celsius for the temperature, and the dew point -2 degrees, altimeter 3029er. That's very high pressure, my goodness. So you can see the pressure difference here. In inches of mercury, you compare standard pressure, which is 299 at tooth, flight level 350. If you then tune the Boise, the local pressure altitude, with 3029 for inches of mercury, then it actually gives us 35,340 feet. So there's the 340 feet difference between aircraft flying local pressure and flight levels round about that transition altitude. Good luck, Badger. Yeah, we're still waiting for the PMDG Universal Flight Tablet. We're looking forward to that 737-900 as well, which is coming soon. There's a lot of high-level cloud here. Look at that. It's a beautiful looking aircraft on the outside, isn't it? I can't sort of detract from that at all, because that is exquisite. It's just spectacularly nice. Very, very good indeed. But the systems inside leave a bit of a sour taste. Certainly for £40, I could never justify paying that. When this beta ticket stream version that I've got expires on the 31st of January, it'll automatically deactivate itself with how they've set it up. I'll be waiting until next year, I think, unless something blows me away in the near or the remainder of this flight. The key thing for me is the people that have paid already, as long as they walk away with something at the end of it, happy days. If they don't, then that's pretty gnarly. What I would say is, just in case, keep all your receipts, in case you have to call your card provider if say for example it never gets finished. You can see the mess already on the FMS coming up. In fact, maybe if I zoom out, which way is it? Why is it not zooming? Okay. There we go. Yes, it kind of wants to do this weird stuff, and then there's a whole lot of squiggly mess around the airfield because it's default for Sobo logic. Altitude select. Start thinking about descent. Even pressing, holding shift to speed it up is quite slow. What have we got? So, at or above flight level 160. Now, because we're going direct to into an approach, we're going to have to worry about flying flight level 160. Hold on. Where the heck is it going? Heading mode. Just flying itself away from the route. It's going back to Wanta. Oh, for goodness sake. Yeah, don't use this on VATSIM. This is Sobo FMS, it's just crap. And you can't do a direct to, so I'm going to do a direct to Devley. Just to see what happens, because, let's face it, the whole thing's a mess. Now it's gone all the way to clean. Brilliant. Just wiped a whole lot of stuff out. Now I've just got... just got like a line to Devley. Beku, oh no! What do we got here? Runway heading 102. Should probably actually start down. Vertical speed mode is probably the safest option. See what happens, see how slippy this is. Go full flap. Wind 120 at 10. Landing temperatures 7. There's our V speeds apparently. Now that looks a little bit more reasonable, to be honest. Mike, British Afgeek does this stuff so we don't have to. My god. I mean, we're now back on, we're literally flying the rest of the route now, the start on heading mode. Which is a problem in itself because you don't have track, so depending on what the wind is doing, you don't actually know what is going on with the rest of the aircraft. But maybe if I go next, Jimmy's there, so if I go direct 252 and do that, that's actually kind of tricked the aeroplane into flying that route. Now if we go Jimmy, alright, that'll do. Peter, hello buddy, welcome. Andrew's looking forward to the Just Flight's Fokker 28 Fellowship and the Bluebird Simulation 757. The latter I'm not sure how well that's going to get, to be honest. Zada Tango says, if Fly-by-Wire developed a community-based true study level system and then sold the kernel or offered other variants for dollars, that would be an amazing business model. That would be quite cool, wouldn't it? I have no idea how that would work, but... Andrew B saying, developers are going to have a hard time matching PMDG 737-600 for quality product versus price because that is setting a high bar for everyone else. Absolutely, yeah. I think it would be difficult to kind of assess a new developer against a product like that, but maybe more akin to the Aerosoft CRJ's pricing structure. Fenix A320 and the main PMTG 737 package pricing around 50-60 quid for the final products. I think that's where it really gets pushed into touch somewhat. Right, how do we flick into nav mode? So we've got FMS 1 and 2. Definitely. So we're over the path at the moment. Marlow at 10. Let's keep it going. I feel like I've got my work cut out already. Now performance is really bad, so I'm going to have to turn this off again. I've noticed a lot of stutters coming in all of a sudden. We're going to have to go right slightly to try and counter the wind. So we're thinking about track versus heading. We've only got heading mode, so we're having to kind of calculate our drift with the wind. At the minute it's 43 knots from right to left, so our drift is kind of pushing us this way. We need to try and move across. Delta Tango says time to implement all that private pilot's license basic flying training. Hell yeah. That's probably as good as we can make it get as well. Trying to think what else we might have missed here, because there's approach mode. Push direct for the course. Our course there, sorry, in the bottom right of the PFD. Right, there we go. Still learning as we go as well. So some of the issues we're encountering is down to me being new to the jet. Oh, hold on, course isn't actually changing. Yeah, flight directors are on. It's more of a flight path angle sort of thing that we like in the Airbus, so we're used to in the Airbus. We'll leave that on. Right, Dan, so then we have to have that active, right? Yeah, so that would then activate that mode. So we might as well, we're in heading mode anyway, because LNAV is basically flying like a blind dog. So we can change this without us swerving around anywhere. I mean, even offline, I think I'd get frustrated if every time I got to the star, it tried to fly me back to the departure airport, as we saw a minute ago. So you can't actually just allow it to do anything else. So we're FMS mode at the moment. Let's zoom in. We need to slow the jet down as well. What was the altimeter? 3029. Speed. I'm going to set 220 for now, I think. Belgian flight sim pilot, hello. Speed brake. Oh wow, that's interesting. They were deploying on the ground. Oh, they are out. That's interesting, look. So they're deployed, but apparently not. So how do I know, apart from opening the flight control and then losing the nav display, that we actually have spoilers active at the moment? I'll leave them out for now because I feel like we probably should. Windshield heating. That would be icing off, right? So are we right in assuming that the icing has been on the whole time? There's a poll for you guys. I'm interested to hear what you think. Yeah, automatic spoilers, but for descent, I've kicked them out, basically. I've toggled them on. We're going to go low auto brake, I think, but actually, should probably have a little look-see here to see what the runway length is like. Oh, nice long runway at Boise. At Jimmy, we need to be 6,000 feet. Before we commit in here as well, I'll probably want terrain out on the map.
Boise traffic, Osprey 2306, vacated 10 right via Delta. We will be crossing 10 left to taxi to the gate.
Boise traffic, SkyWest 3443 is vectoring southbound 190 degrees, descending to 6,000 feet from 11,000 feet. Currently east of the field, expecting ILS Zulu runway 10 right. Correction, west of the field, currently about 10 nautical miles, Boise traffic. Virtual flight simmer, very good, thank you. I hope you're well. I mean, this is interesting, isn't it? It's, we're in the pea soup though for the first time, so let's have a look. Got the spoilers out. I actually don't think they do very much. They're not doing much at the moment for us. Beautiful wing flex though, look at that. You can kind of see the lift active on the wing. Oh, that's a lot of terrain. Let's keep it coming. Did we retract the spoilers? Yes. It's weird, I actually have to look at the wing now to find out. That's a lot of green. Okay, we can just about see the ground. So we're monitoring this. I don't want to fly into the ground, that would be embarrassing. We're going to do a little orbit round. Hopefully people aren't gaining on us too much here. Boise traffic, SkyWest 3443 is 7,400 feet, altimeter 3029er, and turning inbound Jimmy for the ILS Zulu runway 10 approach. Will report established. Boise traffic. No idea what to expect. Badge says, are there any parachutes under the seats? We might need them. Okay, so that little turn there that I've done in lieu of LNAV doing anything proper, I'm hoping that'll have given us a nice 30-degree intercept. We're still 1,000 feet above. Need to put flaps out. When do they use the button next to the gear? I think that's probably an emergency gravity extension, isn't it? I haven't really looked at it too much, but I don't think that'd be simulated at the moment, at the present time. We want speed to go back to about 180, really. And at the moment, we want vertical speed mode again because it thinks... Bearing in mind we set 6,000 feet, it seems to have levelled itself off at... What the hell is it doing? At 7,000. I think I've seen enough, to be honest. Don't buy it. I'm trying to be sort of good and constructive and things like that, but there's just been so many problems on this short 55-minute flight. Imagine if we had a controller online. Good grief. I think I would actually genuinely disconnect out of fear of reprisals and embarrassment. Let's turn a little bit more towards Jimmy, counter the wind. We got 14 degrees right to left, crosswind. It does what it wants. E175, it does what it wants. Even speed. It struggles to hold speed, it struggles to hold LNAV, it doesn't have VNAV. But yeah, both the engines are still on, that's always a good thing. We're going to go left a little bit more. That's a lot of red. Map. Get the terrain off because we can see the ground and it's just obscuring everything else we need to see. It's giving us all of that. It's a beautiful part of the world to fly around. There, I believe, might be the airport. Oh, so 180 knots, we're inbound. Exactly, Andy. What are they going to do? The thing is, Nox Gaming, this is appropriate for, you know, certain games like Goat Simulator, where things might get released in early access and stuff like that on Steam. I've seen a lot of people discussing that with different types of game, but this is a different kettle of fish. There's the runway. It's like people are now trying to push the flight sim world into this early release type model, and it's just fairly nasty, the way it all works. Right, Jimmy, at or above 6,000. We're at 6,000, that's fine. I mean, goodness knows what that's thinking, because that's something entirely different. Let's go to VL mode. Lock IBOE. Lovely, that's the ILS, so it's picking that up with 15 miles. And if we go to approach mode, we'll see what happens. I should probably swig a load of Dr. Pepper. What's the worst that could happen? 160. And it's overshot. What a load of rubbish. We'll hand fly it in, shall we? Probably safer. What are we doing? 10 right, so it's the one that we can see the brightest of the two. Set your ILS expectations to low. Non-existent, I think. Alright, we're hand flying it in from 6,000 feet. Boise traffic, SkyWest 3443 is flying a visual approach, runway 10 right. They're currently 12 miles.
I'm surprised the aircraft hasn't killed you yet, or you haven't crashed into the ground.
So we tuned the relevant frequency. We went on to VL mode. We've done everything we were supposed to do. We've tuned the course. We're on approach mode at the correct time. We intercepted from less than a 30-degree angle, which is what they told us to do. And then it just flew through it anyway. Gear down. What speeds? I'm going to call that 125 knots. I mean, I suppose it's even planning for a go-around. Very, very nose-down attitude at the moment, but we are trying to hand-fly the ILS approach, so we're kind of I'm staring at these at the moment for our glide slope indications. Waiting for that speed to bleed away. Gear up aviation, I'm using the Turtle Beach Velocity 1 yoke still. Okay, that's full flap. What gate do we need? Charlie 3. Okay, you know what? I think I'm just going to hand fly the whole thing in because I can't trust the instruments at all. So, I mean, following that, it's given us pitch down massively below the glide slope. So I'm actually now kind of looking at the position of the runway in relation to our aircraft at the moment to hand fly it in. I can see, looks like a balance of red and white now on the Pappies. I'm trying to draw a massive line through the aeroplane basically to extend that centre line through the aeroplane. We've got a bit of a crosswind, it's 24 knots, probably about 10-12 knot crosswind component according to that. We've set 125 knots, and even now the pitch is quite low, so let's keep it going so we get... But let's turn the auto throttle off completely. So now we're manual throttle as well, because I want to fly this approach with a 3-degree attitude roughly, a bit more of a natural nose up position. Which is about there. It's 110 knots. Oops, sorry, badly trimmed. That wind's dropping off now to be a little bit more in accordance with the METAR look, so it's 16 knots, it's about 5 knot crosswind. It hand flies okay, but if in doubt, guys, and you're trying to fly this thing and the ILS gets a bit messed up, do what we did a minute ago, just turn everything off, all the automation, get rid of it, and fly the whole thing in. Now, it would be near on impossible if we were flying IFR, because we just wouldn't be able to fly this thing in IFR if the ILS didn't work, because I couldn't even trust the actual glide slope and the lock. What do you mean I shouldn't do it with approach mode active? How does it approach then and fly the glide slope? VL mode, approach mode is approach mode, right? Mateo, that's what we did. Oh, I'm going to stop reading the chat because I'm going to crash the plane. That's what we did. So we went VL mode, we waited for the needles to start moving, and then I armed approach mode. Very nice vertical sim scenery here with the lead-in lights. Actually helped us massively today. All days. What's the touchdown rating going to be, folks? Quickly pop your guess in. Looks very nose down for what is supposedly 2.5 degrees nose up.
Boise traffic, Osprey 2472, overhead Cayenne
idle.
at 8,000 feet. Expecting ILS
Oh.
Zulu, runway
Oh,
10 right.
oh.
Boise traffic.
Try not to move that position of the runway now from the nose. Through 70. That's maximum reverse. And missed that turning. We'll have to go to Delta. And it didn't, I don't think, extend that either. Speed brake. The clapping. Could you imagine? That's interesting.
Boise traffic.
The order brake's stuck on.
Osprey cargo 804.
There we go.
Overhead Jimmy at 6,000 feet.
Yeah, the aircraft is still
Lining
in
up
development.
on
We're not
for
detracting
expecting
from that.
ILS
I just think they've
10
released something that's
Boise traffic.
not necessarily ready for public use, full stop. Reasonable public use anyway. Boise traffic, SkyWest 3443 is vacated 10 right, crossing 10 left and taxiing to stand Charlie 3 via Alpha and the apron. Let's get a follow me. Let's see what's going on with the drone camera, because it may well be... Okay, so that toggle doesn't... That's not the one. Flaps are still... Oh, actually, they have retracted. I mean, it's a beautiful livery. This is the one big takeaway, really, is the fact that what they've got with the aircraft is a beautiful model. Oh, I may have forgot to turn the landing lights on. Well, strobes off.
Boise traffic, Osprey cargo 804.
Where's my guy going?
Runway 10 right. Boise traffic.
Right. Nice face. It's usually the other way, isn't it? Nice leg, shame about the face. Oh, fantastic. Get the APU on. How quick does this spool up? 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 50. Make sure I don't crash into the follow me plane, car. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it, Jeff? They've purchased the model from X-Crafts. That's the difference, really. So
Boise traffic,
I guess they can have a little bit of
overhead Jimmy, expecting ILS Zulu, runway 10 right. Boise traffic.
a little bit of pleasant remark, a little bit of a nod, I suppose, for the model, but they have purchased it from someone else. So basically, what Brecod did, and a few other developers who have released stuff in the past. We've got a really nice GSX profile for this Boise airport. Lone Sparrow says, as a current Embraer 175 driver, this product is a laughable joke at best. I think for me they've really cocked up with the way that they've ran the release. I think if they had been a little bit more honest with the website, because let's face it, to be completely frank and honest with you guys, I found it quite misleading. Follow me aborted for safety reasons. The heck is it taking me? C3. Basically, it cocked up and it needs me to go in there.
10 left.
Yeah, don't know what happened there. Streamlabs crashed again. It's been a while since it's done that. But as Lone Sparrow was saying, I don't think they took into account the repercussions from the community. I don't think they thought through the workings of the aircraft with how they've sold it on the website and on the Aviation Lads stuff. So, yeah, massively misleading, but I don't think it was intentional, certainly. Sorry about that, folks. Streamlabs crashed again. It's been a while since it's done that, to be honest. It's a bit weird that it's chosen today. Okay, maybe we get a Gangnam Style from him today. So that's the throttles in idle. Oh yeah, it's down here, isn't it? So we go stop. Let's see what he does for us today. Very good parking. Oh yes, it's Gangnam Style. Oh, from her. Yeah, I think the whole thing that it's kind of the whole thing's been a bit too messy for my liking, to be honest. And let's push GPU in. I think they've really missed a trick with how they could have managed the release of this. Let's see what happens with deboarding. What's the worst that could happen, eh? So once exit 2 to open, it probably can't do that at the moment without me actually clicking the buttons. Oh, it's just on the cargo though. There we are. Damn straight. Yeah, not made of wood. Right, anyway, here we go. It's GSX. I haven't got a default, just a normal default profile for this. It's no custom profile. But actually, oops, through the dash 8 by accident. Everything's lined up quite nicely. Yeah, as we've just discussed, really, I don't think it's... I think it's an inexperience from the developer. It shows the inexperience and their ill-thought-out marketing that's kind of caused a lot of the problems here. The fact that Aviation Lads were able to go and create something that is... you know, a series of videos that, quite frankly, were a year ahead of its time and just were massively misleading in relation to what people needed and expected from the aircraft. 123 votes. I asked you guys watching, do you think FSS have released the Embraer 175 too early? And 83% of you in that vote, and over 123 votes, said yes, they released it too early. So, that, I mean, that's quite big, isn't it? Let's face it. All round a beautiful model of the aeroplane though, thanks to Xcraft to have created it. But system-wise, there's no properly working LNAV, even though they pretend that LNAV does work. I found in this very short flight today that it doesn't, it's default, and it tries to fly you back to where you started. That's not acceptable. VNAV is non-existent, that's important. People say it's not, but it is, let's face it. Even if you don't use it, there are elements of it that are pertinent to most flights. The logic for stuff seems a little bit weird as well, and the ILS is just a mess because it uses that default LNAV system, that default autopilot logic from Asobo in the sim. So is it VATSIM ready? Absolutely not. Is it IVAO ready? Absolutely not. Any online networks that require you to fly realistic procedures and things, it's not in a position where you can safely do it. You're going to cause more problems, not only for yourself, but it's going to be problems with other people trying to fly reasonably on the network as well. It's just not fair to put this sort of jet on the network in an air traffic control situation. Rab's saying, when I saw the notification earlier about this flight, my first thought was, is Luke really going to take this on VATSIM? Yes. I thought the best way to test it, see if it's VATSIM ready, is to throw it straight into VATSIM and just see what happens. It is Join FS ready though, Doc. Yeah, good point. Not used that in a while, have we? See, I think the developer is starting to learn from the mistakes already. I think they've realised that they messed up quite badly, quite significantly in relation to the release of the early access. They haven't said that they released it too early, even though they ultimately have released the early access too early. Although some people are enjoying it, let's face it, some people are happy with the release in its current form, and not everybody looks for the same level of simulation that, for example, I do, and a lot of you guys watching this channel do as well. We look for that higher level of immersion and that complex simulation as best as possible, and it doesn't achieve that anywhere near yet, but that's because it is early access. As we discussed at the start, they talk about things on their website, they talk about why they've released it in early access, but there are some misleading elements still that they need to resolve. Detailed systems, they're nowhere to be seen yet. That second paragraph on the website is woefully misleading, so that kind of missells the early access massively. That's a problem. Although they do then talk about the disclaimer, and I mentioned that it's a 12+ month ongoing project with 8 people involved in the early access, being released by or distributed by Aerosoft. So there are issues on the website that mislead things, that make it sound like it's further ahead in its development than it actually is. That to me causes a problem to somebody who might not actually look any further into the detail. Ultimately, you are flying a beautiful model aircraft in a default A320 brain, with the way that autopilot and everything else works. I'm hoping in the near future, maybe in 6 months, maybe 12 months, we start to see some tangible improvements that then mean that we can revisit this question again, whether or not it is A, worthy of the 40 quid, B, whether it's worthy of or suitable to go on VATSIM or not. For the price, avoid it at the moment. It is not worth it for the price as it stands. I think it's way too expensive. If they had angled more towards 15 to 20 euros plus VAT for early access, may have been more reasonable had they handled the release a little bit more professionally. But 40 quid is what I would expect to see this priced at final release when it's complete, not just as it stands at the moment. A lot of people have been saying, why not just throw in the working title mods? Part of me, in my mind, a little light bulb just went off. Part of me wonders if at some point someone might mod that into it and it will be a thing on flightsim.to in about a month from now, who knows. But there is also another update coming in about 2 weeks supposedly, which offers to improve a few other things like throttle calibration in the jet, which would be quite nice. But yeah, working title would be a start to improve the brains of the aircraft quite a bit more. I would imagine just to put the default autopilot logic into the jet, it would have taken a lot of time. So I can't get my head around why they didn't just think of taking another 2 months in development to get a custom LMS or FMS system or custom autopilot logic put into it. And that says to me, warning sign there, that they don't necessarily know how to do it, otherwise they would have done. And that is a worry that's in my mind. So I don't think they've timed it right. I don't think they've released it in a particularly good manner. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say, to be honest. It's early access, but very, very, very early access. I think it's too early access. Strange. Hopefully they'll pull it off. Anyway. Yeah, Lone Sparrow saying, you make a good point. Even though after the backlash and they've cleaned up their website a bit, there still remains some misleading points on there, and it's just frustrating, isn't it, to see that they haven't quite learned from some of the mistakes. Some of the massive criticism, let's face it, there's been some huge statements thrown out there from other people elsewhere that have absolutely slated the aircraft, and also the attitude of, well, the developers and the way it's been released. Yeah, there's been some hugely smashed out videos that have slated the heck out of it, but Can they recover from it? Ian's asking there. I'm not sure. It all depends on whether or not they're going to pull this off and they're going to release a fantastic product in the next year. I am dubious, I'll be honest. I struggle to comprehend how they're going to be able to get the brains working when they've been willing to release early access in this form, if that makes sense. So for them to think, you know what, early access, 0.9, let's throw in a default autopilot brain and just go from there and release it for 40 quid, including the tax. That to me speaks of inexperience, but also it's put them firmly under the microscope, as Ian has said there. The concern is with all the disclaimers, like somebody's just mentioned, Rab said there, the disclaimers all on the website. My concern that I share there is you won't get your money back if you decide you don't like it. You probably won't get your money back if you, in 6 months' time, realise that it's not in a state that you wanted it to be in, and you know, we still don't have a time frame for when it's going to be complete. There are lots of questions out there, and I think 40 quid, you can spend that money better elsewhere, let's face it. But it's optional. You guys, you might be watching this, one of you in the chat somewhere might be watching this thinking, yeah, that's a bit of me. That's all I need out of my flight sim experience, and then that's fine. You can purchase it from the Aerosoft website, but if you're looking for that complex high fidelity simulation, it's nowhere near that yet, and it's very overpriced for what you are actually getting at the moment, sadly. Beautiful Osprey lineup though, isn't it? For sure. Tomorrow we've got another flight, another stream. We are jumping into the Fenix A320. Whee! Where'd he go? We're jumping into the Fenix A320 tomorrow. It's been a little while. We're going to be doing the shuttle service, the British Airways shuttle service from London Heathrow to Manchester and back. And throughout the journey tomorrow, we're going to be giving away 2 copies of the Inibuild's London Heathrow Airport scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator that's just been updated to version 3, which is pretty mega. So tune in tomorrow for a little giveaway. We'll be flying the return journey. Lots of choppiness here, but it's weird things going on with performance of the sim. So something's struggling. Not sure what it is. And then on Saturday, we're going to be live again, 1 o'clock UK time, for a Mad Dog flight in the MD-82 Leonardo Software House between Helsinki and Bergen to check out the newly updated Bergen Airport from RD Preset. So lots of stuff to explore over the next 2 days. Certainly will not be touching this again though, sadly, for quite a long time. For me, I'd like to think the only direction is up, Lone Sparrow. I'm not so sure. They haven't really proved themselves, I don't think, yet, in my mind. For me, I'll be looking at it in another 6 months to 12 months from now, I think. So, yeah, I won't be touching it again until I see tangible improvements, frankly. It's leaves a lot to be desired. Anyway, I hope you guys have found this live review useful. It's been a bit of a short trip, 55 minutes, but we started cold and dark to explore the system, start to finish. GSX seems to be working okay with it. That's one thing that's quite nice. The model is beautiful, but everything else is massively lacking, and for 40 quid leaves a bit of a bitter taste in the mouth. Yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed it anyway and found it useful to help inform your own decisions as to whether or not you want to purchase this in early access or not. It's not for me to tell you otherwise. It's down to you guys to decide. It's only the only fair way to do it. But for me, it's nowhere near worthy of spending my money on it just yet. So make of that what you will. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel and you're jumping on board for the first time. Don't forget to give the stream a little thumbs up as well if you found it good, or dislike, up to you again. And join us tomorrow for that British Airways shuttle service from Heathrow to Manchester and back again with those 2 copies of the Inibuild's Heathrow to give away. Thanks those of you who flew along. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.